Welcome back to Montgomery and Company. Y'all know it's me, Renee Montgomery, and I'm hyped because in this episode, we're celebrating the release of my documentary, A Radical Act, Renee Montgomery. It's weird saying my name after it, but that is the title. And we're going to be joined here by the director, the homie now, Sandrine, and her partner and business partner who kept everything in line together, Anke. Welcome to Montgomery and Co. Squad.
Hi, nice to be here. I was just saying, remember when you were doing this in your living room? It's time. Moving on up. I was gonna play the Jefferson song, but I didn't think that we could actually clear it. So.
Okay, so listen, I did a whole monologue, just so you guys know, talking about the experience, how amazing it was. But I thought it would be dope if people heard from you guys that were here every step of the way, and also the vision, the brainchild of it. So I'm going to just start with you, Sandrine, and what made you say yes to this documentary?
I just thought that when initially, you said yes to me. Hello.
Okay. Well, what made you?
That's actually how it worked. No, I got, when the project came across, my desk, so to speak, I just thought, well, first of all, story about a woman, and I love telling stories about women. I love telling stories about athletes because I always think that there's a way to go deeper into a story that's not just about sports. And I saw this, obviously. And then, I did a lot of research, and there was a lot of information, a lot of pieces about you, around the time that you became an owner and after you opted out. And those were all great. But I just thought there was an opportunity to go deeper into the why, and I think that's what we did. We took the opportunity to say, why did you opt out in 2020? Why did you, give up a lifelong career in basketball, overnight almost, to become a co-owner and vice president? So it's just an opportunity to go deeper than the headline, really.
Wow. It's crazy too, because just so you guys know, the people that Sandrine has worked with before me, I mean, the likes of Michael Jackson, the likes of Rihanna. So for me, I love the fact that I knew that they would have a certain level of professionalism. What I did not know, though, was just how easy and smooth it would be, because I'm not necessarily, you guys know this now, but I don't love being on camera. It's just not something that I love. But I want both of you to answer this question, because I have a lot of different moments, but what would you say was one of your favorite moments while shooting the doc?
Okay.
I'll start. There were quite a few moments, actually, because how I'm going to put it, it was a world, I entered into a world that I wasn't ever part of in that way, because I grew up in Europe, right? So first of all, the whole college life and the whole, the growing from being this kid growing into this athlete through the whole educational system, that was very intriguing to me. And doing it as a woman and being so successful in women's sport was really cool. So there's a few moments that I really enjoyed. First of all, the first few moments were when we got to meet your parents as well as Serena's parents. Those were just walking into the homes respectively was just we had a great welcome. Everybody just sort of was really cool with being around us, and we being around them, which was really kind of it made it really easy to sort of just be naturally part of the story. And the other part was actually being there at the homecoming with part of the family and you there, and watching the step show and seeing how all this came together, and it was just so powerful and amazing. And I have a third moment.
Oh, yes, let's go. I want to hear it.
I didn't expect it, but Gina Oriema at UConn killed it. And again, I've never been exposed to that. So for me to be on a college campus, be at first night, and then have the interview with him was just mind-blowing to me. So those were my three favorite moments, I think.
Real quick, Sandrine, before you go, first of all, this is hilarious, because I don't know what it is about the image of Coach Oriema, but this happens to him often, where people are so pleasantly surprised when you actually get to interact with him. And then secondly, it's funny. So just so everyone knows, we filmed on a holiday. I forget which holiday it was, but the crew was all there. And what holiday was it? Like 4th of July?
Memorial
I don't
Day.
even know.
And your parents.
Memorial Day. It was Memorial Day. And so Snook and them, we say Montgomery and Company like it's a family here, because Snook and them made everybody get a plate, made everybody sit down and eat, because we had a cookout. So
come on. I was like, oh my God. And we were just, it wasn't even, normally out with the crew and everything, and it's a holiday and people are little, and we were just part of the family. So it was just a great experience. It was just awesome.
Fact, I love that. Sandrine, what about you?
Yeah, so I think, just to follow what Anke was saying in terms of Gino, I mean, first of all, he's a legend. We all know he's a legend. So, it's one of those things where you don't want to be starstruck, but I mean, the guy has done so much for women's basketball, for UConn. He's helped put UConn on the map. I don't think that there's any sports fan out there that doesn't know who UConn women's basketball is, even if you're not like a fan necessarily, right? He's a 45-minute soundbite machine, and like literally I could have just sat there and not even asked him a question. Actually, I just threw a couple of questions. Normally I have to lead people, but like I just threw a couple of questions and just listened to him talk. And it's like actually going to school in a lot of ways, isn't it? Like just like sitting down and listening to someone who's got so much experience, just like, talk. And at the end of the day, it was also really interesting because I think a lot of people we had talked to at that point were from a personal level for you, right? Mm-hmm. But this was an opportunity to talk to someone, as far as I'm concerned, like, your professional basketball career started in college. And this was an opportunity to talk to a professional coach for you. So, just to hear him and thinking of like what kind of a player you were, what kind of a leader you are. And these are formative years for you. So I think that was really important. The other moments that I really liked were all the vignette moments that we got a chance to film. Because I think that for me, there were these ideas were big ideas for documentary to make it, to bring the level of visual up, and to make it, premium, as we talked about it. But what was really exciting was my ability to bring that forward as a filmmaker, partially because of the producer that I have in my wife and partner, but also with you and Sirena, because you guys are both, professionals in the business too. So not only did you trust me, but you knew exactly what I was going for, and you were willing. So the reason that they were able to work in the way that they did was because you guys are pros and you trusted me, and so yeah, that was a great moment for me.
So you said that Coach Ariel is a 45-minute soundbite, and yes, I know it's crazy. Like I used to think before our pregame, how coaches give their speeches, and like every single game for 4 years, these was like award-worthy speeches, and I'm like, how does this guy do this? So I 100% believe that. I'm curious, are there any things that didn't make the documentary? Because this documentary was in 144, an hour and 44 minutes, and I know that everything couldn't make it. So anything pop off in your mind about Coach?
Yeah, and specifically, well, there's a couple of things, like the whole, that whole, like, you can't leave the back door open. That was a much longer speech, and that I wish that we could have put in the film. So, maybe one day I think you should just sit down and watch it.
Yes, send me. I haven't seen it, y'all. I haven't even seen it. So please send me the clip. I would love to see that interview.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I wish we could have put in the film that I didn't put in the film, because I felt like it didn't have the opportunity, it would be out of context, right? So this is an opportunity to say it. It's like, he basically said you were a hustler, like in the, in all the sense of the word. And I think, for me, the thing about women basketball players, they are all hustlers, and I mean that in the nicest of ways, like, because I realize that you don't have the resources. You got to hustle for everything you get. and that in a lot of ways is the epitome of like trying to make it in a world that doesn't necessarily give you everything that you deserve, right? And so I absolutely, and that's why like when you tried to like when these girls like they like hip hop, they're like they like dressing up, all this stuff, like I feel you, like that's the hustle, right? And he said it outright. So
Wow. It's crazy. Also, it's crazy hearing Coach Ariema speak so nicely, because you know that when you're in the thick of it with him, he don't have much nice to say, because he's chipping away trying to mold you into exactly what he wants you to become, which I'm so thankful for, having went to UConn in the after sports life. I'm curious. I've talked about this myself some, but what do you hope people gain from the documentary? Like, you put it together in a certain way, you crafted it. I know for me, I wanted people to see like what a positive mindset could do, because a lot of times that's the main thing I had. I don't have the height. I'm not super athletic. I'm not all of the above things, but I had a mindset that I could still be whatever I wanted to be. What did you want people to take away from the doc?
I think this is a blueprint for how to succeed, in general. I think that overall, I've been grateful that I've had the opportunity, like even you were talking about Rihanna, Michael, I think for me, like whenever I do a documentary, it's really just to be able to get to the heart of the matter, right? Like anyone who knows Rihanna's story will know that she had family, a belief in herself, and a little bit of luck, you know what I mean? And hard work, really hard work. And, nobody's an overnight success, and certainly not with a lot of longevity, right? And I think that that's the exact same story here, and it's like, there is no such thing as an overnight success. You have to have belief in yourself. You have to have some type of support system, and you got to put in the work. And that's just what it is,
I love that. How does she feel about you saying Rihanna instead of Rihanna? Or are we all saying it wrong?
You're all saying it wrong.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me it's Rihanna all this time?
Yeah, but hey, to be fair, I learned that myself when I was working on it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Name is Robin Rihanna Fenty. Yeah, she'll introduce herself that way. If you look at anyone who actually like, when she introduces herself, like her name is it's Rihanna. Yeah.
Oh my, okay, because I apologize to Rihanna. Like, because whenever I was even saying like, hi Rihanna, I was thinking that was a compliment, but this is Rihanna. So thank you for that. What is it like working with your partner? Like finding that work-life balance? Like, what is that world like?
I mean, you could answer that question yourself.
Exactly. I have thoughts of my own. I would like to know yours.
I think it's the best and at times most challenging thing ever, because you take the work home a lot. Me personally, I'm an artist, so I'm very emotional, so sometimes like I tend to take things maybe too seriously. But even friends of mine that have been colleagues, they know how to deal with me. It's just a little bit harder, I think, when you're taking it home all the time. But that said, it's also like there's no one I trust more than her. Like no one. And I don't mean just with like me saying things or like whatever. Like she's a phenomenal producer. I mean, we talk a lot about what I've done. Definitely. I mean, the woman's worked with Outkast and Beyonce and System of a Down, and I mean the list literally goes on and on and on. Like she did some of the biggest music videos in the 90s and the 2000s, and some of the biggest commercials. And I've seen her work, and I always said that I couldn't afford her. And I can't, but she's phenomenal, and I trust her implicitly. So yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because yes, like we talk about you working with Michael and Rihanna, and then we go with Anke, and she's a producer that's worked with, first of all, this is Atlanta, so you talking about like Outkast, you talking a certain talk when you say some of these 90s names. And so I'm like, what did y'all have to really make the decision that, all right, we're going to combine both of our powers for Storyform? Do y'all want to work on separate projects at certain points too? Like, what's that world like?
So I think we both got to a point where we realized that, and then she's an entrepreneur through and through. So she's like, I'm not gonna lie, like she's the one that's like, we're doing this, like she's like, we can start a company, we're doing it. I think we got to a point where, we realized, as you did, that you got to own your stuff. Like, you can't just keep working for other people, because that a paycheck is nice, but it only goes so far in terms of the decision making that you can make for yourself. And this project is a perfect example. Like this, that we were able to do what we wanted to do with this project, in part because you trusted us, but also because it's our company, right? So that was really important to us. We worked for a lot of people and with a lot of people, and respect and thank you for everyone who gave us opportunities. And it just got to a point where, we just kept hitting each, like, separately, a ceiling that we just felt like we needed to overcome. And it's scary, as you know, to take that step into, like, owning stuff, because when stuff goes wrong, it's on you. Like, there were times behind the scenes on this project where things did not go according to plan. And Anke looked at me and she was like, guess what? It's on you. You're the director.
What are some of those things? Because you see, I don't even know these things, but what are some things that just went absolutely wrong on our documentary, that obviously we know at the end result, we would never know because it was amazing.
Really? Oh, boy.
Yeah. Yeah, let's hear, what I'm saying? We got to give the people something.
You got to give the people something. I wouldn't say that let me say that it didn't, I'm not going to go, well, no. I would say that I am an editor, and I spent 20 years editing, and the post-production process was a lot more challenging than I expected that it was going to be. And I learned very quickly that I needed to, know how to talk to people a certain way and communicate a certain way. Whether it was learning how to communicate exactly what I wanted, or being maybe a little bit more assertive than I'm normally used to being, good cop, bad cop kind of thing. It's like, no, okay, it's on me. I will shout out Aaron Drake, our music composer.
Shouts to Aaron. Yes. Big shouts to Aaron.
Yeah, I will shout out Aaron Drake, because that process was really challenging, I think, for both of us. In terms of, because it's not easy to make hip hop music that is also a soundtrack to a film, just so you know, and you and Sirena and I had talked about the importance of vibe and so we really wanted to take, contemporary hip hop vibes, and it's actually really hard to score a film that way, especially a film that has a lot of dialogue, right? So it took a while. It took a while, and a lot of trial and error, and shout out to Anke, who kept Aaron and I on track, and shout out to Aaron, who was willing. I mean, we went there, man. Like, I would take his stems and I would tear them apart, because I'm an editor, and put them back together, and finally we found the vibe. And then once we did, then he was able to go and do it. But yeah, it was a challenge, but we stuck in there, and that's what collaboration is all about, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So
it sounds like sports problems, like locker room. Right. You have to learn how to talk to certain people. Anke, I'm curious of your answer of, what is it like working with your partner? That work-life balance. What is that like?
Tough. It's tough. It's hard. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done, and finding that work-life balance, which, I mean, I'm sure you can attest to that too, is like, whoa, sometimes, you have to sort of really make time for life, because work tends to take over, and it always tends to grab, the priority, because that's, all that business. So it's really tough. And we've tried a few different things. I don't know how people go about it normally, but you try and schedule your dates, and it's lost a little bit of spontaneity in the meantime, and then you're like, oh, well, okay, now we have some life back, but it's kind of like, where's the spark, right? So you just try and get that spark back at some point, right?
I love it. Have you guys like made rules? Like, okay, on on weekdays past 10 o'clock, no business talk, or is it kind of like that's impossible?
You try, you really try. And then there's those times when you got to get the edit out, or it's just not working the way you thought it would. And you're just like, and but what we've done now is we go for walks. So every now and then we both look at each other and we're like, oh, it's time for a walk, you know.
Is that your version of like, all right, we need a timeout. We need a 30-second
100%
timeout.
oh, this is going places. And, that's when you try and just keep each other honest. And then also be like, you know what, this weekend, no matter what happens, the phone can ring, the email can explode, and you're just like, sorry, we're not looking at it, phone's turned off. Or you say, okay, we'll check the computer in the morning for 2 hours, and then that's it, right? You just have to kind of make that commitment. And I think you have to make it to each other. And as a result, you start learning to make it with yourself too, because I think it's important for oneself to keep a work-life balance, right? So I think that's what I learned out of trying to figure it out for the relationship, was also like, wait a minute, I've just, you're so like tuned in where you're like constantly like, oh yeah. Where now I'm sort of like, well, you know what? Maybe it'll just take a minute. I mean, it's hard, don't get me wrong. It's still hard, but you start at least building an awareness for it, which I think, taught me that for myself. And now we're sort of still working on what that looks like in a relationship.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people that work with their partner understand exactly what you're saying, exactly of wanting to set those barriers and boundaries, and also knowing that feels like it's not possible in a lot of days because deadlines come. And if you're working together, you don't want the project to fail because, to Sandrine's point, it's like, this is on us. It's on you. If this is your company and this is your project, well, we're not going to let the deadline just pass because we want to do date night. We gotta figure it out. So I think a lot of people that are in that situation understand that. So real quick, last for both of you guys, like, what's next for Storyform? Like, that's y'all's company. Y'all just finished a Radical Act. It got a Roku documentary going now. So what's next for y'all?
Well, first, our whole industry, and we were super stoked. That was another great moment, by the way, on this documentary, when you find out that the film that you invested time in and blood, sweat, and tears, and you too, when you know that, hey, somebody actually is going to pick it up and take it out there, right? And people are going to see it. That's amazing. So for us, what's next is naturally we're sort of evolving and growing, and we've done so for the last decade. And we're expanding in a sense that we've built a partnership with our graphics team that worked on the movie. So we're honest, collaborating, making a commitment to each other and one another. And so that's one thing. So we're expanding into the post-end graphics and motion graphics world on that end. So we can be more so creative even. It was a fun time collaborating with those guys. And we're taking on some other creators, because we realized also social media, digital marketing, all that stuff plays such a big part in what we are now and how we put content out, that it's great to have these people in-house and have them help us do that along the way while we're in production and really think with these sort of mindsets in place. So that's the big part in terms of Storyform. The company is just expanding in terms of the talent pool. And, we've been pitching, we've been looking at projects, we're filtering through what is it that we like, what is it that we're drawn to. And honestly, we took a beat, once the movie got sold and with the premieres.
I mean, 3 years. I mean,
we took a bit of a break, but now we're excited because it's got a new momentum. We've got great talent. We're excited about that. And we've got some great projects that we're looking at. So we're ready.
Love that. All right, so before you guys go, I want to play a little game called Love, Sports, and Marriage, okay? Now, I know that this is a different world for y'all, but some of these questions aren't. I'm going to ask the question. Y'all point, do the little thing. Y'all know, y'all seen that where you point and say which one of you guys does this apply to. Y'all ready?
I'm going this way, so you got to go the other way. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Just stay the same way. Whatever way you start, keep that same energy. Yeah. All right, here we go. Who watches the most sports on TV? All right. Who is the best at talking to people?
That depends. It depends on the situation.
Listen, you guys can't analyze this. This is supposed to be quick hitters. Yeah. Who is the best at organization? Who is the most competitive? I like that. Who has the best handwriting? Who is the most romantic?
Oh, I like it. I love good romance.
Come on, rom-com.
He's a closet romantic. I thought I was romantic, but let me tell you.
It's got to be the hair. All right. Who is the most practical? Okay. Who's the best listener? Last one. Last one. I know neither one of you are in this world, but who would win in a game of basketball?
Okay, only because she's about half a foot taller than me. But
oh man, I love it. I love it. All right, so thank you, Sandrine and Anke. Y'all know y'all are family now at this point. We've already said this to you guys a million times off camera, but I'll say it here just so people know that just spending these 3 years together in the grind, together trying to just make something dope. I was like, just make it dope. I don't care what you do. Just make sure it's lit. And you did exactly that. Make sure y'all check out the documentary, October 16th, coming out on Roku. I'm telling you, it goes from the point to where I'm going from athlete to the ownership group, but then also it has archival footage that no one has seen, not even my sisters that just watched the premiere in Atlanta. Again, it was Serena's footage. She was the first one that had the idea of doing a documentary and picking out the camera. It's all kinds of moments on there, but Sandrine, Anke, it has been a pleasure. Shouts to Storyform, because again, this was a project of a lot of different parties. Spring Hill, P&G, Storyform, Uninterrupted, all of these different companies came together to make a masterpiece, in my opinion. So thank you guys, and I appreciate you joining us here on Montgomery & Company.
Thank you for picking us.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for joining us for this episode of Montgomery & Company. Remember, if you've got a question for the MoCo mailbag, send it to us at moco@wabe.org or at Montgomery Co Pod on Instagram. This show is produced by Think Tank Productions in collaboration with WABE. Our executive producers are Amena Brown, Scotty Crowe, and Serena Grace. Audio production is by Kevin Rinker and Matt Owen. Video by Ariel Brown, Greg Harding Films, and Ryshad Pitts. Until next time, I'm Renee Montgomery, and this is MoCo, where it's all sports, culture, and family business. WABE.